Welcome to a new UTS Startups Confessions. Amazing. So my name is Aaron Ngan, and I'm the Inspiration Manager of UTS Startups, and we've got a very special guest who we'll introduce in a moment. But every single Friday from the busiest street corner in Sydney here at UTS Startups at Central, we record an interview with people in the startups community, or in this case from our UTS Startups member base, to share the enablers of success so that we can inspire as many people as possible to start their entrepreneurship journey and to get going. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Jacob Lescove from Unicornshift. So give him a round of applause. All right. So in 10 seconds, what would you say, just tell us what Unicornshift is. Tell us about your startup.
Yeah, certainly. So Unicornshift, we provide software for the civil infrastructure industry. So on the one hand, we've got workflow software, and on the other hand, we've got a digital marketplace.
So let's break that down a bit. So when you say the civil infrastructure, do you mean what does that involve?
Yeah,
sure.
Sure.
What does that look like? So when we were talking before, I was what you describe, I can't literally go anywhere in Sydney without bumping into it.
Yeah.
So just paint a picture for everyone for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So roads, they have potholes, so someone has to go in and fill those holes, and essentially we help with that.
Yeah.
We make that happen.
Okay.
So essentially in our marketplace, we've got the contractors who win the work to fill holes, for example, or build telecommunications infrastructure, and they require services in order to perform those works.
So I'm hearing that without these services, filling the potholes, telecommunication services, traffic management, all of that sort of stuff, without these services, nothing gets built, nothing really gets fixed.
That's right.
Your platform connects the dots so that everyone can get the services that they need.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Yep. Okay, well, let's rewind a bit, because we'll explore a bit of that journey. But for everyone who's watching, so we actually met roughly 22 years ago.
So 22 years ago?
2002.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, it feels like a long time. So Jacob and I actually coincidentally both went to school together. And I had no idea that, I had no idea that I was going to end up here. I had no idea that you were going to end up here. Who were you before this startup journey? And how long has Unicornshift been around?
Yeah, sure. So, I definitely always wanted to be in business. Ever in primary school, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's something I knew I wanted to be. And essentially, even in high school, I was sort of trying different things unsuccessfully. Out of high school, I tried a few things, went into a few startups, learned that for me, being on the solution on the technical side it's just not me. I definitely need to be, closer to the problem, closer to the business. But where I got most of my experience was working actually in my dad's company. A civil engineering consultancy. That's where I got exposure to the infrastructure industry. Mm-hmm. It's where, you read about, university, the Porter's 5 forces, but that's where I really felt it, and it's a real visceral feeling. And that's where I really learned that I want nothing to do with small business. It's a complete waste of time. But I did learn a lot, so it was a great it was a great education.
Porter's 5 forces is one of those standard sort of business management things, and you're right, it can feel quite abstract. What was it like just getting in there, and what were those things that you would notice? Those critical things, those pulls,
absolutely.
The market forces, yeah.
Absolutely. When you're in the middle of those forces where you're squeezed on one side and then squeezed on the other, you definitely feel it. And certainly, it really, why it was very useful was going forward when thinking about businesses, when thinking about business models. You want to be resistant to those forces, or you want to be a force rather. So that's was really the key learning there. So suppliers are squeezing you, buyers are squeezing you. There's competitive forces. It was at the time it was a horrible feeling, but what I learned from that is I never want to feel those feelings ever again.
Yeah, fair enough. And was it in the midst of that, like how did Unicornshift start? Like what was that sort of initial spark for the idea?
Yeah, certainly. So I was involved in a community organisation in Campbelltown, and we partner with Oz Harvest and give out food hampers. And the people that show up there are, you know, a lot of them are in their 40s, 50s. They've never had a job, or they've been essentially locked out of the workforce. And you know, there were regulars, and what I found out was some of them stopped showing up, and you know, I learnt that they were earning you know, more than $2,000 a week after doing a 2-day traffic control course. And that was very, yeah, it was just interesting to me. I wanted to know more. So I just started asking questions, not just to people on the road, but just people in the industry. And you know, what I learned was the key problem is getting resources in the right place at the right time. I knew from my background in infrastructure that this is a must, traffic management. So it's something you continuously need. And also, you know, the more research I did, the more I found out was that this problem is just a generic problem across services. So that's what really got me excited about pursuing the idea.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before when I was like driving through Sydney, you see traffic controllers everywhere. You see construction happening, especially like just around the UTS area. There's so many different projects. You'll often see different teams in different places. And when you said that you saw that it was a must, like what's that impact like when you have like traffic controllers not showing up or not doing that? Like what are the real costs?
Yeah.
For these companies?
Yeah, yeah. If you've got plant and equipment sitting around, you know, even a small asphalt contractor, they're looking at, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 an hour in losses.
Sorry, how much?
Around $5,000 an hour in losses. Yeah.
So they are very keen to fill this gap.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, and just tell us a bit about the landscape, because like how many, so now at this stage, right, like that was when you started, like how many suppliers do you have on at the moment? Like what does that look like? And why was this such a challenge for everyone to deal with? And why is it still a challenge?
Yeah, certainly. So we've got about 1,000 contractors on our platform at the moment. And in terms of why it was a challenge, so there are peaks and troughs in demand. And that's the key issue. You know, what you need is, as a buyer, there are times that when you need the service and there are times that you don't, and each day your requirements can change. So if you've got a single supplier, it makes it very difficult for them to supply to you, right? They can't rely on you to provide you with all their work. And at the same time, when there's a big request, what do? They find out on the day how much resources are going to be booked. So essentially what our platform does is it puts on a whole bunch of suppliers, so they're not exposed to a single buyer. And on the other hand, the buyers, they get exposure to all these suppliers to ensure that they constantly have supply.
So you're managing the risk on both sides.
So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you found out this problem, you were like, okay, people are disappearing from this food service. The results of the cause of that is actually really surprising. They're making lots of money, they're getting their traffic management ticket, and they're going off and they're starting to buy houses and do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And you were like, let's find out more.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened then? How did you start to build this out? Because this was back in 2020, which was a perfect time for all of this, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, we started just before COVID. Obviously we didn't predict that, but the way we started was very structured. So that team that originally started, there was 3 of us. We had a pretty good education about how to test business ideas.
Yep.
So, we found these Facebook groups and we just posted into them, are you interested in signing up to this? And we got over 100 sign-ups in, a couple of hours, and we thought, okay, that's a good signal. And one of the responses we got was by a private message. Someone asked us, do you have any buyers on your platform? and we didn't. And
so you had a bunch of people who were signing up to do what? Like these are the traffic controllers themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right. But yeah, we got a private message from someone random out there who saw our post, and we told him no, we don't have any buyers on our platform at the moment, and he provided us a list of contacts, and I just called the first contact. So it was a guy who he was a state manager of a national company, and took him out to coffee. And at the end of the meeting, it was a classic discovery meeting. At the end of that meeting, he asked, what are you doing? And I essentially said, on-demand traffic control. And he said, cool. When can you start? and that's how we got our first customer. So that was we had really and this was, I just want to note, we didn't even have a company at this stage. So now we need to figure out how do we actually charge this person. So yeah, that's how.
How did you figure all those things out? Like, how did you work out what the price was going to be? Did you just say, hey, I'm going to charge you this amount, and they said yes? Or because that's one of the things which a lot of first-time founders, they don't know how to price it. They don't know how to even think about it. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, in terms of pricing, we had some assumptions about how we could price, and we could do some basic financial modelling, and to be honest, with what helped us was this first customer. He just said, "This is where you need to be," and gave us a rate card, and we just did that. So that's how we started.
Okay, so you asked for the feedback, and you're like, okay, we're just going to go with this.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it.
And it was a lot better than we modeled, so that was good.
Yeah. So you've got your first business and you're growing up. I think you mentioned before that you started off building an app and creating that with one of your co-founders. Like, how was that process? Because you were like you've got this idea, you've got this demand, you've got these signals, you know that you can start putting technology onto it. Everything's pretty much smooth sailing from there, isn't it?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It was not smooth sailing at all. So yeah, I had a co-founder, and it was good. We had very early on we had an app, but the thing is, it was nowhere near as robust enough as what is required. Not his fault. Very talented engineer. But what complicated things was he ended up leaving in that first year. So no app, no technology, and it's shocking how quickly the technology stops working when key people go away. So within days, our platform was just useless. So yeah, that was a point in the business where we did not have enough money to hire engineers. So basically, I ran the business on a spreadsheet. So I ran an Uber-like business on Excel. And that is so painful. People, you will never understand how painful that is. It was bad. But yeah, that was what we had to do.
So we're talking suppliers, buyers, jobs, and how often would the requirements change?
Oh yeah, every day the requirements would change. Every 30 minutes, sometimes the requirements would change. So I'm constantly on the phone. I'm constantly on a spreadsheet. My life was this spreadsheet. It's the most painful thing I've ever done. And it just you're just awake because there's so many changes. Yeah, you're constantly conscious that you're always trying to catch up with the ledger.
And on the flip side of that, because that was 3 years ago, that was in your first year, yeah?
Yeah.
So now you're a couple of years on. What did that, doing it painstakingly, moment by moment, with the spreadsheet, with all of those moving parts, what did that give you, and what does Unicornshift look like now?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's a completely automated experience now, thank God.
But even just for your benefit, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I would not survive if just health-wise. But sorry, what was the question?
What's it like? What did that give you? What did going through those challenges give you that makes the business that it is today?
Certainly. I mean, what we learned. I mean, we had no technology, but we still had customers, and that's where you really learn what the real value proposition is. And that was really useful. The other thing was, because I was doing everything manually, I really knew what the product was. So when we were able to hire engineers, it was very much very easy to get the product to where we needed to be. Very clear instructions, not much rework. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing I can stress is you really understand what the value proposition is. It's usually not much to do with technology at all. It's usually the buyer or the supplier has a job to be done. Can you make that problem go away for them? And what we really figured out, because we had such limited resources, we really found out what is the thing that really resonates with them. What's the thing that actually sticks? So all that other stuff that people were saying, oh, we want this and that, we don't need to build that, and we'll never need to build that.
And a lot of people talk about their goal as a founder being to raise the millions and millions of dollars. I know that you've raised some funds. I'd love to hear a bit about that process, but also you've been generating revenue from literally before day one.
Yeah.
So what's that journey been like within that context as well?
Yeah, certainly. Well, we were generating revenue before day one, that's true, but it was a very small amount. So, that first day we made $20 in profit. I was so happy and so excited. And then, the second day...
And all your friends are like, what was their response to that when you told
they
them?
were laughing at me, Especially, I've got some tradie friends, they rake it in on a daily basis. So they were laughing at me, but I was really excited. And also, the fact that it was happening on a repeated basis, that was really exciting. That's really the fact that we had buyers and they had a continuous need. That's what really kept us in the game in that first year. That no matter how difficult, how painful life was, we continued because we had that repeatable traction. What helped a lot in that first year, we got the MVP grant.
Yep.
We also got a bit of funding from UNSW. We went through their founders program, which was really helpful. And also from founders, we did raise a bit of capital. So the mentors that we had from founders, they threw in some money. So we haven't raised much. Altogether, we've raised not more than $130,000. But look, everyone's journey is different. But yeah, for us, we were able to get most of our money from customers.
Perfect. And looking into the next 2 to 4 years, so final question is kind of what is the next couple of years? Actually, no, that's second final question.
Okay.
What does the next couple of years look like for Unicornshift? What are you building towards in the next couple of years?
Certainly. Well, we want to be the mechanism by which infrastructure is built and maintained. So that means we need to be a global scale company and we need to be highly defendable. That's more of a 4 to 5 year goal. It is quite ambitious, but we know what we need to measure, and that's going to be gross transaction volume for us. And that's because we know how much is being spent annually on construction and maintenance of infrastructure. So
that's a known number just out in the world. You can find that number per city and things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. That's right. So how much is moving through our system? That's how we know whether we're moving in the right direction or not.
Yeah. Okay. And how's it? Where's the baseline at the moment? Are you happy? The construction and maintenance market's a massive market. What is that gonna take to start getting you that share of everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a couple of parts to this. So, like I said earlier, we've got our software offering and we've got our marketplace offering. So, on the marketplace side of things, we need to go more horizontal. That means bringing more and more services onto our platform. That means more of our buyers' spend is captured by our platform. And then on the software side of things, which is a sort of a separate value proposition, getting more and more of our users using exclusively our tools.
Yeah, perfect. And here's one of the things I can see throughout all of this is, there's the core need right there, and then that really came first.
Yes.
And that understanding came first, and the intricacies and the connecting the dots even if it was by Excel, and now you've got the system to really make that all happen.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the other way around. It wasn't build an app and they'll come. It's find the need and then you can create the system.
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I think that's the way we approach all our product development is problem first. Actually, this is a core point I want to make. You know, we're very, very much technology agnostic. Our focus is always the customer and the problem because those things are relatively stable things. But technology is you know, it's merely the means by which you create value. And I mean, yes, it's true, technology can unlock new value creation, which is very exciting. But like I said, we're purely agnostic. So everything that we've built today, I'm happy to throw away ruthlessly if there's a new technology enabler. Like AI, for example, you know, we're going to bring products to market, which basically mean we have to cannibalize what we've done, our existing products. You know, and I don't have a problem with that because the focus is always the customer and the problem.
Now, final questions, especially because we have so many people in our UTS Startups community and people who are watching this who are wanting to start, they're wanting to get started. Sometimes they're not sure, so I think it's been great to hear a lot of those challenges and the ups and downs. But overall, what would you say this entrepreneurial journey has given you over this time? And what's any advice that you would go back and give yourself before you kicked off and before you started?
Yeah, certainly. Look, it's definitely worth it, 100%. I mean, it's given me everything. It's the best decision I've ever made, and doing anything else, in my opinion, is a complete waste of time.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely worth doing. And in terms of advice, you know, before I started Unicornshift, I went to the Sydney School of Entrepreneurship. There was a workshop run by a guy called Phil Hayes St. Clair. So he's also quite an experienced entrepreneur. And basically, you know, he divided, you know, all the tasks that you need to do to build a business. There's controllable tasks and there's uncontrollable tasks. Controllable is something like starting a company, getting the ABN and the TFN, the structuring. You can pay an accountant to do that. But the real work of the entrepreneur is focusing on the uncontrollable. You know, for most startups, that's do they even have a market for their business? Prove it. So, you know, focusing on those activities, that's really important. The other piece of advice is a book that I love is Running Lean. A great book about starting a business. So, you know, one thing that's in Running Lean is, you know, you could have this grand goal, but really you only need to know what the next step is concretely. So that's, you know, entrepreneurship is very much...
Find the next step, do the next step. Find the next step, do the next step.
That's right. You do need a vision, though, to keep you motivated. Yep. But yeah, just do the next step. Don't worry about how you get to 100 customers. Just figure out how you get to one. And then how do you get to the second one? You know, figuring out that scalable customer acquisition path. I mean, you can have your assumptions, but you don't need to figure that out today. So that's the biggest thing. You need to actually execute. Do the thing that you plan to do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jacob. In a moment, we are going to turn off the live stream, say goodbye to our live stream and online recording viewers. And we're going to turn the camera off, and with our live audience, we're going to do some off-the-record cheeky Q&A where the audience can ask anything at all. We'll dive into some of the other numbers, perhaps. But we'll do that in a moment. But for now, please join me in thanking our guest, Jacob from Unicornshift. Thank you very much.
Thank you.